Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Almost forgot my name there for a second. Appreciate you all showing up. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Almost forgot the name of the show. Boy, it's that kind of morning already. Appreciate everybody being in here, man. We got a good show for you guys today. Talking about what is going on at Utah. Like, what is the deal with Utah? Rumors flying around all over the place. So we're just going to take a dive in and just see, from at least from my perspective, what the hell is going on with the Utah Utes. So before we do anything, again, remember, as a reminder, continue to like, follow, and subscribe. Continue to hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. And always dive into that comment section like you guys have. Let me know what you like, don't like, where we can get better. But let's get this thing going, man. We appreciate it. So, first off, look, Utah fans are going to be mad, but haven't they been mad since the very beginning? Like, hasn't Utah just been, the fans have just been pissed off since, let's just call it what it is, the Big 12 gave you a lifeline. Because the Pac-12 disintegrated, and the Big 12 said, hey, we see you falling, but we're going to pick you up. You'll be a good addition to this conference. You don't have anywhere else to go, but we're going to pick you up because we like you. Okay, come join. And it was almost like Utah begrudgingly said, okay, I know we're dying and we don't want to go, but okay, we'll take the life raft. Fine. And that is how they have acted since the day they joined this conference. They thought they were better than the Big 12. They didn't want to be in the Big 12. Now, let me attack that second part. I agree that them not wanting to be here is because they loved being in the Pac-12. Okay, so let's get that out in the open. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay? There's nothing wrong with, hey, man, I loved my house, but my house burned to the ground. That's the equivalent here, people, is that they loved being in the Pac-12. I mean, it was great for them, from where they had come from, what they had done, what they were able to accomplish in that conference. Why wouldn't you love it? Of course you would. Everybody would. And then it came tumbling down. Again, no fault of their own. Like, they didn't cause the Pac-12 to have some of the worst leadership since, I don't know, ever. I mean, maybe since Custer and his last stand. Just some horrible leadership. That wasn't Utah's fault, But it came tumbling down. It just did. It's what happened. So they didn't have a place to go. They thought that they were going to, piggyback off of UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, and go to the Big Ten. That didn't happen. And if we're being realistic, which that's what I'm about, that was never going to happen. I know that rumor has come up here in the last couple of days, but I'll just be quite frank. It's because there's not a whole lot to talk about right now. So people are just throwing rumors out there to see how many clicks and views and all that kind of stuff that they can get. Now, if it happens, great. if they can move to the Big Ten, good for them, because that's where they want to be. Let's just keep it 100. That's exactly where they want to be, is in the Big Ten. But I'll just be honest. Just like those certain people, that are throwing those rumors out there, well, I've got sources. Well, so does Big B. And Big B sources say, absolutely not. Not happening. Not happening anytime soon. Doesn't mean things don't change, because we know how college athletics is. But it doesn't mean they won't change. But as of now, that's not happening. Okay. So that part of it is they don't want to be in the Big 12. Kyle Whittingham basically came out and said it. And we covered this a little bit last year. I mean, he's like, look, we're in the Big 12 as of now. Well, why would you say that? Because he doesn't want to be in the Big 12. That's the whole thing. He doesn't want to be there. And you can say all this stuff, all this, behind the scene, well, yeah, we do. We're happy to be here. No, you're not. And to be honest, I think you should just come out and say it. Now, the Big 12 is never going to allow you that because they'll fine your ass every time somebody opens their mouth and says it. But they don't. The fans don't. The athletic director doesn't. The coach, they just don't want to be in the conference because they loved the Pac-12. Again, I feel bad for them in that sense. It's like I said, you love your house, but if it burns to the ground, you have to go somewhere else. It's just what has to happen. I mean, you can't live with no shelter. And Utah can't continue on not being in the conference. Ask Oregon State and Washington State how that goes. I guess they could have just, we'll just be an independent. Yeah, Utah wasn't going for that. So they had to join. Whittingham doesn't want to be here. Athletic director doesn't like he doesn't want to be here. Now, what are you talking about? Well, y'all remember what happened last year when Utah got jobbed, and they did get jobbed against BYU. Again, I'm always transparent. I'm always going to tell the truth, at least my truth. The way that I saw it, and I think most human beings saw it this way, Utah got jobbed, on the pass interference call. They did. It was garbage. And it cost them. It cost Utah. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It cost them. But for the athletic director to come out and hold a press conference to say, well, we were happy to be in the Big 12. Exactly my point. What do you mean? You got a bad call that cost you a game and all of a sudden you don't want to be in the conference? Well, look, nobody is putting a gun to your head and saying that you have to be in the conference. Leave. Just leave. Just say, you know what? We don't like the Big 12. We're going to just hold out and be an independent, and we're just going to play, and we're going to wait for the Pac-10 or the Big 10 to call us. And when they do, we're going to jump. But for now, we don't want this conference. We don't want to be a part of it. But they're not going to do that because they know lack of money, lack of interest, out of sight, out of mind. They're not going to do that. So it's basically they're just using the Big 12 until they can get a bigger offer. Okay. And again, I'm okay with you doing that. But just admit that. Just come out, hey, man, we're in the Big 12, but when the Big 10 calls, if they ever call, we're jumping ship. Because that's what you want to do. That's what you're telling everybody. At any possible instance when there's something that happens, that's what you're screaming. I mean, all offseason, every single fan, well, I shouldn't say every single fan. That's being disrespectful. That's not being disingenuous, too. It wasn't every fan, but it was easily 3-1 saying they didn't want to be in the conference, didn't like the conference. They're just going to come in and dominate the conference in football. And that's it. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, that you don't want to be here, how do we move forward? I guess is a better question for me. For instance, look at football. Football last year was nothing but a disaster. And that's it. We could come up with a bunch of hyperboles and excuses. It doesn't matter. It was a disaster. The root evil couldn't find a quarterback. Quarterback that you were playing on got hurt. Year before he got hurt, but you were able to figure that out. This past year, couldn't figure it out. Could not get it figured out. So, team suffered because of that. I think that they still had a good defense, but you look at the defense towards the end of the year, it's just like, man, we can't win these games. And they got worn down mentally. Because the defense was still physical, but when you go into a game knowing that you can't win, or if you give up, 17 points, you lose. That's deflating. That is deflating, especially with the rules and how college football is. 17 points is not a lot of points. And you give that up and you can't win, man, that'll do something to you mentally, man. And I think that's what happened to Utah's defense because they were still playing physical. But, like I said, you get to the end of the year, it is what it is. but it's fixable. It'd be one thing if it wasn't fixable. They just got to get the quarterback right. If they can get the quarterback right, they're going to get the offensive line right. They're going to be able to run the football, play a physical style, but you got to get that position right. I don't know if they've done that or not. We'll see. I mean, they thought they had done it last year, and an injury thought that they had backups. Those guys turned out they couldn't play. So we'll see what happens this year with the Utah Utes football program. I think they bounce back. Their schedule's tough. It's not easy, and anything can happen in the Big 12. Just like we all thought Utah was going to be really good, and they ended up really bad. The same thing could happen this year. They're not going to be picked tops in the conference. They might be picked middle of the road, but most people are going to pick Utah to finish near the bottom of the conference. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. I think it's going to be a lot higher than that. I do. I think they're going to be, because Whittingham's a good coach. He's a good coach. And if he still has it, which I believe he's still got it, I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to be, I don't know if they're going to win the conference title, but who thought Arizona State was going to win the conference title last year? Even compete for the conference last year. So it's possible. It's possible. You look at basketball, I actually think basketball at Utah, they get it. They're getting it right. Because they have realized, like last year, and when I say last year, 2023, 2024, they won 22 games, didn't make the tournament, kind of fell in conference play, kind of fell on their face a little bit, didn't qualify for the tournament. I think if they would have won one, maybe two more games, they would have made it. I think they would have been fine. But they didn't. It is what it is. They come into the Big 12. Big 12 is a different animal than the Pac-12 in basketball. I know a lot of Pac-12 fans don't want to believe that, but it is. And you found out quickly that it is a different animal, and it didn't work out. It absolutely did not work out. And they said, you know what? We're better than this. We are better than this. The mediocrity is not going to sit well within our fan base. We need to do something, and they did. Fired a coach, whether you believe they should or not. They took the initiative and said, nope, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to get better. I love that approach. Don't like that somebody lost their job, but I like the fact that they took the initiative that mediocrity is not good enough. And that's 1 year into the league. They're like, nope, we got to be better. We got to be better. And I agree. They do have to be better, and they can be better. We've seen the fortunes of college basketball teams all over the country. Look, there's certain things that we don't like about the transfer portal. I would say most people can't stand it. Okay. But the one thing that they do like and they can stand is if your team is mediocre 1 year and really good the next year because they were able to get college transfers, and all of a sudden they have a good basketball team. People love that aspect of it. Doesn't get talked about as much. They mostly talk about, oh, guys leaving for money. This guy's leaving for money. No loyalty. It's killing college athletics. But they don't talk about when your team goes from terrible to good. You don't hear a peep out of that fan base about how NIL and the transfer portal is destroying college athletics. You don't hear that at all. Ask Florida how the transfer portal works. Ask them. They just won a national championship. Couple of transfers, boom, national title. So while we can hate certain things, there's other aspects of it too. Now, I think when you talk about Utah, as far as in totality of their athletic program, again, the fan base, I believe, there is great, passionate. I think they take their cues from the leadership. And in my personal opinion, the leadership's letting them down. As much as I want to praise them for basketball and making that decision to say mediocrity is not going to be the norm around here, you got to get behind your team in as far as where you currently are at and understand you're in the Big 12. Stop talking about Well, we may not be here for long, Kyle Whittingham. Even if that's true, why talk about that? Why not just be where you are, live in the moment, and go from there? Horrible leadership. Horrible. Athletic director. We were happy to be in the Big 12. What are you talking about? Then leave if you're not happy. If you're mad that one call cost you a game, ask every other team in the United States of America has a call cost their team a football game before. And if it has, which we all know that it has, were they talking about leaving the conference because of that? That's what I'm talking about. Emotions. You let your emotions get the best of you, and then you go popping off at the mouth. And then what do you think your fans are supposed to do? Your fans support you. So they're going to take their cues from you. If you would have said, man, look, we get it. It's terrible. The Big 12 officiating crews are great. Everybody makes mistakes. First of all, you didn't even have to say that. Why is an athletic director saying anything? Like, don't say anything. You just be the athletic director. If your coach wants to come out and say something, fine. But when has an athletics director come out, unless they're just butthurt, which clearly he was, come out after a game to have a press conference, not taking any questions, basically just making a statement? Well, that was the statement. Now, what are Utah fans supposed to do? Like I mentioned before, like, are they just not supposed to listen? They take their cues from their leadership, just like everybody else in this country. We take our cues from leadership, whether it's the president, whether it's your parents, whether it's your boss, whether it's, in my case, my wife, whatever it is, you take your cues from leadership. So that's why I feel bad for Utah fans, because I don't know if they're necessarily getting a bad rap, but from the very beginning of them getting in this conference, had the leadership said, man, the Big 12 is great, we couldn't be happier to be here. Not, well, we're here for now. If they would have just come out, embraced it, or said, you know what, the Pac-12, we loved being in the Pac-12. It blew up. It blew up on us, and we needed a lifeline. We found one and a great partner in the Big 12. We are overjoyed to be here, basically because of our circumstances. Because of what happened, we needed a place to go. Couldn't have found a better landing spot for the university. Leave it at that. Whether you believe it or not, just say that. Well, you don't want to be, lying to the media. What are you talking about? People that you have to say certain things all the time, because, again, then it doesn't rile up your fan base. Your fan base can get behind the program, and you can do all the underhanded, backstabbing stuff to try to get out of the conference without people knowing about it. And then when the time comes, you can go. It would have saved you headache. I mean, look at Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma and Texas left. Nobody thought they were, or you could, something closer to home. Nobody knew that USC and UCLA were leaving until they did. And you can, there were some rumors. There were very few rumors about that. And everybody knows that, if we're being honest. Didn't say they weren't any, but there were very few rumors about that until it happened. And then they were gone. Could have done the same thing. But instead, we're Utah. We're out in front of this. Yeah, we got to go to the Big 12. We'll run the Big 12. We don't like even being there. Well, you haven't run nothing. Literally, you've run nothing. And the Utah fan base, who I like when they get out in front and rowdy and run their mouth and are arrogant, I like that. I've told you all before, I love chaos. I do. I love people that are arrogant when you can back it up. Well, the problem is the Utah fan base, as of right now, if you were asking to hear them, you could hear a mouse fart in a field before you could hear a Utah fan right now. That's how quiet they are. Which sometimes you got to eat some humble pie. And I get it. But I want them to be better. I want them to get out there talking trash, but don't trash the conference. You can trash other schools. You can say you're better. You're going to do this. And that's all fun and games. And even when it gets out of hand, which it always does, it always gets out of hand, not just from them. That's every fan base. Because again, fan equals fanatic or short for fanatic. We're all crazy. We're all crazy. But I want them to be arrogant again. But go out there and do it. And then, just you don't have to bash the conference or where you're currently at to be arrogant. It's not necessary. And then when things don't go your way, which I can't imagine it had been worse for Utah this year athletically. I just can't think of it how it could have been worse. Well, then sometimes you have to sit back and just be a little bit more humble. So go out, make the changes, figure it out. Like I said, they made the changes in basketball. And don't get me to or thinking that I want to have Winningham fired. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying make the changes. And I think him being part of the changes are going to help them. But just get better. Act like you want to be here, whether you don't or not, whatever. Act like you want to be here and then go make some stuff happen. It's a good conference. You just gotta be a part of it. And in basketball, look, I know there's other athletics. I totally understand that. But again, football and men's basketball run everything in college athletics. You know that. I know that. That's just the way that it is. I'm sorry if maybe you disagree, but you would just be wrong in this case. But now it's time to participate. I mean, and if you were good in either one of those this year, you would know Big 12 is a pretty good conference to be in. It is. It's a good conference to be in. You just didn't really participate this year. Let's hopefully next year you can participate. So appreciate everybody being in here. It was a fun week. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. Back next week, going to have more fun topics. Until then, everybody have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.